habit of doing in Yonkers is leaving people in these provisional titles long after the 9-month period. Some of them have been there for years. When their feet are held to the fire in many cases and their favorite employees are forced to take a test and they fail, they just change the test. They give that person another position out of harm's way. So I worked in Yonkers, I was a union employee in Yonkers, and the state does not always come down and monitor as they should. I asked them to do it in my case when I had civil service issues. They threw everything back in Yonkers' lap. They are responsible for doing audits, and they did do an audit for a 10-year period which ended in 1994. If I get on the council, that's one of my priorities, a civil service audit to encompass the period 1994 to the present, because there are many, many things that are done against the civil service law in Yonkers. I assure you of that. And I know what I'm talking about, and I say that wholeheartedly. The state does not step in any cases.
Yeah, I'll comment on that. Here's one issue where I disagree with my colleague on. What she says is absolutely true 10 or 8 or maybe even 6 or 7 years ago. It no longer is. There has been tremendous civil service reform in the city of Yonkers. Our Civil Service Commission now schedules at least one test and sometimes 2 tests a month for the various jobs that exist in the city. So there are very few provisional employees in jobs for many, many, many months anymore. Actually, at the State Civil Service Convention just about a year ago, Yonkers was the example that was given to the rest of the state as the way to change civil service and make it the way it should be.
Sorry, I don't mean to bore you, but things are not that moving in Yonkers, even in these recent years. Ms. Restiano was the director of Yonkers Consumer Protection. That was my old stomping ground. When she was forced to take a test that she refused to take, the test was so watered down for her to make it easier for her to take the test. There was no weights and measures or protection knowledge on the test. I worked in that office for 13 years and have seen what previous job specs and test requirements were. All of it was removed from Ms. Restiano, and she still didn't take the test. That time, the mayor tried to give her another title to get her out of harm's way, but he didn't realize, the head of the city, that you're not judged by the title you hold in civil service. You're judged by the aggregate of duties that you perform, and she still would have been performing the same duties, whether you called her a bus driver or a taxi driver or whatever. So as recently as 2 or 3 years ago, things are still not above board in Yonkers.
I'm going to combine, these are actually 3 separate questions, but they're really asking your position on issues that, while City Council might vote on their position on this, you're not actually going to be directly determining the outcome. So these are, the audience would like to know, or some members of the audience would like to know your position. One is, would you support a moratorium on the death penalty? No, why not? Just very quickly.
Yes, and no.
No, you don't want to know why not.
No, I want to know why not.
Yeah, I said, would you support a moratorium on the death penalty? And if not, why not? And if yes, why?
Because the city council is all over, we have to pass resolutions. They have sections on it.
Okay. I mean, these are all three of these questions are not ones that Yonkers will vote on the impact on Yonkers residents, but they're asking.
I suppose sometimes there's a resolution, for example, before the city council on national issues of various kinds, so might as well pass these.
And you can pass on these questions. So.
Yes, more scale.
Mrs. Rowley?
Having been a Republican and true conservative my entire life, I basically believe in the philosophy of the Conservative Party, and that is if you take a life in an egregious way, your life should be taken as well. So I could not support it.
The next question is, do you think the
Favor
Rock...
the death penalty or oppose abortion?
Sorry?
In favor of the death penalty or oppose abortion?
What?
Okay. The next question is, do you think the Rockefeller drug laws should be changed? Mr. Morelli, answer that question? And why or why not?
No, I think they should be reviewed on a more short-term basis. As they stand now, I think they're fine, but that doesn't, as time is moving on, things need to always be looked at closer. They shouldn't be left to stay in place a long period of time. So I think we should look at them a lot closer in time frame so we can see if they apply as the time goes on.
Sure.
I have to tell you the truth, I'm not familiar with what the aspects of the law are, the answer to, I don't know the answer to that one because I'm not familiar with the law. Mr. Calvi?
Do you think the Rockefeller drug laws should be changed?
I agree. I think all of our laws, especially things like the Rockefeller drug law, need to be looked at on a current basis by our legislators and considered whether change is appropriate or not.
And the last one, would you support,
I believe it was impeach Bush and change.
a resolution? I think this is, would you support a resolution to impeach George Bush and Dick Cheney as other city councilors have?
These were from you, so it's not relevant to you guys' job.
It's relevant. Democracy is relevant. What is wrong with
I, you can answer the question or ask.
That's true, but people have the right not to make fun of the questions that are asked.
Okay.
I agree with the other city councils. I think that I would support that. Our country is not, I believe, heading in the direction that I would like to see it head into, so yes, I would support the other
Thank you
city
for
councils.
answering the question.
Yes, I'm going to ask you guys one more question for the three.
Oh, my answer to this, my answer was no.
Oh, I'm sorry. Different.
Okay.
No. Who goes first? Do we have any? Gertrude asked actually for Devlin. Do you have the sewage plant questions for these guys? I have these questions too, of course. Well, why don't we ask two questions for them? He's asking for it. Here's the first. Start with Sandy. The city of Yonkers' budget often relies on non-recurring sources of revenue. For example, in refinancing of the Riverfront Library property. This has been noticed as a cause of concern by the Office of the State Controller. Is Yonkers headed for another state fiscal control board? Mr. Brumman? Non-recurring revenue returned to the fiscal control board.
Yes, we are. We are headed for a control board. The finances of the city are not being